Hello and welcome to No Scrubs, the only show on the interwebs dedicated to ensuring you make no bad hires. And brought to you by the great folks at checked.com and the wonderful folks here at Fistful of Talent. I'm Dawn Burke. I am the VP of People for Birmingham-based tech company Daxco. And speaking of fabulous Birmingham-based people, got a great guest today. Kris Dunn, how are you?
I'm great, Dawn Burke. How are you doing today?
I'm doing pretty well. Been looking forward to the conversation.
Hey, so I got to say, Daxco, let me spell that like you did for Check.
Okay.
Daxko. Closest thing to Google you're going to find in Birmingham, maybe the Southeast.
Wow.
There you have it. I said it.
Wow.
I said it.
You're like, challenge. All right. So you always have to tell the folks, our decor at Daxco offices is a cross between what and what?
Yeah, so, HR people love workspace, right? We love to talk about how our workspace is different. So if anybody's in Birmingham, you should look up Dawn Burke. You should ask for a tour of Daxco because literally, I've said this many times, I'll say it again. It's like Pottery Barn and Z Gallery had a one-night stand and had a love baby.
Okay, and then Kinetix, your company, came in, had a little menage a trois, popped out a little IKEA baby.
Well, it's like IKEA and Target.
Okay, all right. Now I know you have Kinetix swag down there. You got to bring up that cup. Show them the Target.
Oh yeah, I got the cup. Heck
IKEA,
yeah.
Boom.
There we go. Boom. It's all orange.
All right, very good. All right. Well, let's get on to more important topics. Topic at hand. I want to set the stage for you folks. First of all, you need to go to Fistful of Talent and you need to check out checked.com's featured post written by moi called HR Fatty. Make some tech decisions and take action. And I want to set the stage to why I wrote this particular piece. So, a few weeks back was the National SHRM Conference, and Kris Dunn was there in fabulous Las Vegas. And he, of course, is, for some reason considered an influencer in the HR space.
Whatevs.
Also the HR tech space, and that's what I thought. However, he gives people briefings. Well, some bloggers can interview him, and so here's what happened. Somebody did not show up for your briefing, Kris Dunn. I don't know what happened. I can't imagine why.
Who wouldn't want to brief on that amazing topic?
I don't know, but I took advantage of the opportunity to jump on in and interview you because, quite frankly, and no kidding aside, I'm in the process where I work of implementing some HR tech software. So certainly wanted to get your thoughts on some things.
Right.
So really, what I want to talk to you today about and what the article talks about is really just a few things. First of all, a lot of the times when HR folks finally do pull the trigger on an HR purchase, very quickly thereafter, and I felt this too and others do too, you start having doubts. Did I make the right decision?
That's right.
Did I make the right choice? Have I just wasted a lot of money? Oh my gosh, that feature I thought was going to be fabulous really sucks. ... So we started talking about, I started saying, help me with this. So really, sure. I want to just talk to you, first of all, since you're an expert in this space, do you think that HR folks are afraid of tech?
Well, I don't know that they're afraid of tech. I think some of them are. Let me back up. First of all, let me say when I saw your post that kind of covered our briefing and the title said HR Fatty and then my name is right below that, I was like, oh boy, that doesn't feel great to me. But let's get to the topic. I think, when you look at the HR pro landscape, I think some people are afraid of technology, right?
Right.
And I think the people that are afraid of technology are probably the ones that are most comfortable with the fact that their organization within the company has to handle a lot of transactions, be it payroll, form management, stuff like that. And at its base level, what technology does is it takes some of those transactions away from those HR teams. So I think some people are scared about getting out of the comfort zone of transactions because if you take away the transactions or you handle them in a more efficient fashion, then you're left with what? Well, you're left with a lot of the upstream areas that people expect, you and I and all the people in HR to add value to, and that can be a scary place for some. I think the vast majority of good HR people aren't afraid of technology as much as there's so much noise in the HR tech space, and there's so many options. One of the great things about America is anyone can start a company.
That's true.
and anyone can
I
go after
mean,
the space.
look
That's why when you look at the B2 consumer side, we've got like 80 photo sharing apps that are available, right? It's just like too many, it's too much noise, and that kind of follows in HR tech. So there's certainly some very transactional people who are scared of HR tech and what it can do. I think the rest of us are all good HR pros, and it's just hard to cut through all the noise.
So how do you cut through the noise?
Well, what you do is I think first and foremost, you can't be held hostage by wondering what if.
All right. And that was the big aha that me and you talked about. So talk more on this, please, sir.
Yeah. So, the what if thing is, you just fill in the blank when you think about HR tech, right? What if this doesn't work? What if there's a better solution that comes out 9 months from now, or that I become familiar with 9 months from now?
Now, how about 2 weeks from now? How about 1 month from now?
Right? You can do all the what ifs.
Right.
And I think the biggest thing is you don't want to be held hostage by that. You've got to do, if you do an RFP, that's fine, but you've got to do some analysis of what's out there to fit your pain. You've got to answer questions like, hey, based on where my company's at and my HR practice is at, do I need a suite of products? Do I need to prepare to have it all under the same company, whether it's performance management, recruiting, et cetera, et cetera? Do I need all that under the same company? There's some real advantages to that from a data perspective. Or based on where my company's at, am I better off going for just what I would call the best in breed? So if you're looking for an ATS, do I just go find the best ATS I can get and worry about all that other stuff from a suite perspective later on? And by the way, that's something you need a consultant for. That's something that you need to do a lot of reading for, because there are like literally 100 different factors that would guide you on that thing. But the biggest thing, back to the point, don't be held hostage by doing nothing because you're worried about failing.
Okay. I think, so what I'm hearing, first of all, is a lot of HR pros now realize that their value is not just going to be in transactional HR.
Right.
I think a lot of them do know that. There's some that still like the transactions, but I think we can all agree, most believe the future of HR, the now of HR is to be strategic partners. We got to bring value in other ways than just transactional.
And Dawn, can I give you one more thing?
Absolutely.
You like this right here? By the way, we've got business books over here, and we've got sports books over here. It's very organized here. Hey, one other thing that would scare people is if you take transactions out. Let's say you're leading an HR function.
Sure.
And if you take transactions out, ideally what that means is you may have the wrong talent on your HR team. Mm-hmm. So what that can mean is you may have the wrong people on the bus, and you've got to figure out a way either to migrate them to do other things, which they may or may not be capable of, or you've got to get different people. The other thing that I see a lot is that if you like swoop in and do a good job and you take transactions out via HR tech, sometimes the spend you make on HR tech means you need to spend less on your own people.
Team. And that's hard. And that was actually the HR fatty. We like fat teams, and I cannot lie. And I think that's the correlation. Go back and read the post about you.
Hey, Kris Dunn is taking no ownership to the term HR fatty. That is not Kris Dunn.
Okay, all right. That is all DB. That's all Dawn Burke here. Very good. All right, so let's just round this out with just one more question. But to set the stage, we've said a lot of times we now have to look at strategic plays, get out of the tactical. Number 2, don't be held hostage. You're going to have to do some due diligence. You're going to need to know what problem you're going to try to solve before you buy some tech. You might need a consultant to help. Number 3, the money play is always very frightening as well. Can you give our great folks out there a few negotiating tips to help negotiate? Because here's what I have found, Kris, and I wanted to hear your answer on this as well. I can do all the due diligence in the world, but as soon as I implement, I know there's going to be 5% of the stuff that I thought was going to work doesn't do what I thought it would. But it makes me feel better if I know I at least negotiated a good price. So help the folks with some negotiation tips.
So, that's probably, that's a whole like webinar on HR, negotiation for HR pros. But first and foremost, never simply look at one solution. And you don't have to in the landscape of HR tech, regardless of whether you're looking at a suite or you're looking at best in breed and the single solution like an ATS or a performance management system. You always want to look at multiple solutions. You always want to make those providers understand that you're looking at multiple solutions. Okay. And the biggest thing that I could tell you, and some of us are really good at it, we're a cross-section of society, right?
Right.
Some of us are really good at negotiating, others aren't. I would tend to feel like HR, because we don't do it every day, with vendors at least, are probably struggle overall to negotiate. And
Sure.
the biggest thing I could tell you is you have to be bold enough to ask.
Sure. Okay.
So you have to be bold enough to, first of all, pit a vendor against each other and make sure they know that you're shopping. And then you have to be bold enough when they give you the stock rate. You've got to be bold enough, if you're looking at, software, as a service, software as a solution, you're going to be looking at monthly fees, probably like per employee. And you've got to be able to ask for a discount on that. You've got to be able to ask for implementation fees to be taken way down, or you got to be able to ask for those to be waived, or at the very least taken way down. And I would tell you, my experience tells me about 30 to 40% of HR pros who don't have a procurement office in place to handle that for them probably aren't as aggressive as they need to be.
Okay.
And first and foremost, you've got to ask.
You just have to ask.
And one other thing I would say before we go, Dawn, the other thing that catches a lot of HR people is you don't have to implement every single feature of a solution in your workflow for whatever it is that you're chasing. So don't overcomplicate your process just because HR technology is in place. If anything, take 60, 70, 80% of the total availability of functionality, implement that, and then go with a version 2 down the road to keep it simple.
Very good.
That's another, I think, good tip to make sure that your HR tech implementation succeeds in your mind, in the people that use the solution's mind, rather than fail.
I love it. So we got the AA here. Take action, go for the ask. We can probably come up with a AAA. Come on.
Yes. Action and ask. That's right, Dawn. That's where I was going with that.
That's right. Very good. Very good. Don't trademark that, by the way. I already got it. All right, guys. Kris, thank you so much for taking time to talk with us today.
Dawn, thanks for having me, and thanks for Check.com for sponsoring this for FOT.
You know what? I couldn't have said it better myself. So without further ado, thanks, guys. Thank you all for being here. Thank you, Check. Thank you, Fistful of Talent. Bye.